I want to watch the new Ashes of Creation video. I already have it pulled up right here. It's a development update. They release one of these every single month. And so we're going to watch the one for August. And what they're really showing is the hybrid combat footage for Ashes of Creation. So I'm super excited for that. This is a video game that I've been following and I'm just nerding out and really loving it. I might pause very frequently, annoyingly frequently, to comment on things. I have not watched this yet, so this is also like first time reaction for me too. Whew. I don't know why I'm so excited for this game, but I just am. They like promote this coloring book every single time they live stream. I think it's cool, but I'm not super interested.
So as long as you've registered before that date, I believe it was in September. I'll have to double check that date, but yeah.
I registered before then.
Register now.
So I got that cool statue. If you guys haven't registered yet, go click on my link in the description to register for the game.
Absolutely.
It's free to register. Alright guys, get on with it. Let's see the gameplay. Yeah, that's one thing that's looking really good in the game so far is the design. So I bet people are wanting to be part of the game, like designers and artists.
Yeah, I haven't done anything
because it's looking so cool.
You guys just need to project.
It's a great project to be a part of.
Sorry. We'd like to obviously stay up to date as much as possible with the new engine versions that come out.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's always a little bit of a
There's lots
process.
of games that fall behind in that. They're using old engines, so they're kind of, their graphics are just becoming obsolete.
The UI that you're going to see here is placeholder. Not a lot, there's still a lot of polish that's necessary and optimization. This is a very initial implementation of the hybrid combat, but just wanted to give you an idea of what's going to be experienced in Alpha 1 and how we'll iterate from there. So yeah.
Alpha
And
1.
of course, taking feedback.
I want to be part of Alpha 1 so bad. Okay.
So this is where players allocate skill points into their different either active skills, their passive abilities, which can augment their usage of weapons and armors and their health regeneration and passive stats and stuff like that. On the weapon side of things, that's where you will spec into certain types of procs based off of weapon groupings. So, we've talked a little bit about this in the past. If you have a dagger, daggers might have a chance to proc a bleed on your weapon attack, and that would synergize with an active skills ability, like let's say backstab, that does additional damage if the target is under a bleed effect. Now, we've said in the past that players will be able to allocate skill points into their active skills that are more geared towards either action combat or tab targeting. As an example, you can kind of see, these skills can have additional points allocated to them to unlock further features. Some of them can be tabbed to start and become action if you allocate additional skill points. And this is one of the ways that we kind of balance the skills between action and tab targeting, requiring additional skill points in order to unlock certain features of that skill, and then it becomes a tab or an action.
The combat system in Ashes of Creation is a mixture between action, so like skill shots, and like first person shooter, like where you actually have to aim your arrow or your gun or whatever, and then tab targeting, where you just like select the character, no matter where you're facing really. If you shoot a fireball, the fireball is gonna follow that character and hit the character. And so I guess what he's saying is that one of the ways they're gonna balance the two is that obviously if it's tab targeted, that's like way easier. You can like tab target someone and then shoot a whole bunch of arrows and they're gonna hit no matter what, right? Unless they like run into a wall or something, but you don't have to like actually aim them. So he's saying that you have, in order to balance that, they may have to invest more skill points into that ability to make that a tab target ability. Like, wouldn't that cause problems? Because what if people are really good at aiming? Then they can allocate those skill points somewhere else. I guess the question becomes, is the ability to tab target worth the skill points if you could just aim it and hit them regardless?
One of the things I'm going to show you is essentially the weapon attack. So you see on the queue down here we have a, oh, it's a Silver Guardian weapon. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So this is a rare, like level 10 weapon. It's not too bad. But these guys I think are low. They're like level 1. As you can see, I'm currently in the tab mode, essentially. Oh, look at the poor little thing fly. It's going to be sad if I have to kill it. Wow, he's really moving. This thing's pathing all over the place. I can click and I can target. I can tab target if I want to. So yeah, tab between that. So this is the traditional kind of tab targeting. I can, you know, my camera movement is not tied to my cursor. I can kind of look around and do kind of stuff like that. I can look at my cool silver sword. Yeah, but players can very easily transition between tab targeting and action combat. By pressing Z, I now tie my cursor movement to my camera, and additionally, a reticle has spawned. Now, like I said previously, the UI here is relatively rudimentary and very early, but essentially, as I hover over targets with this reticle, I will get indicators through color and highlights on the reticle that will tell me essentially either distance to the target, whether or not a skill that I might have prepped could hit the target from this distance. I can left click and tab target a target currently. Now we'll change that to be right click. Right now it's left click, but it should be right click. And additionally, I can, when targeting an enemy this way, I can utilize my tab targeting skills. So I'll try to hook this dude. Come on over, little buddy. And my left click will attack. And I can use my kind of movements here. Another important thing to note, let's see if we can get a few of these guys, is that all weapons have a forward cone to some degree. Based on the weapon type, it'll change. Pole arms, for example, will have a much wider arc and much further out. Daggers will have a more fine-tuned arc, so you have to be more precise in that regard. So if I pull this sword, if I pull a few of these macaws, let's see if we can grab a few of them. Come on over, buddies. So we have a few macaws here. Little buddies, I feel horrible. But you'll see as I attack, I'm hitting multiple numbers of these opponents. And that's important because all weapons, regardless of if you're in reticle mode or tab targeting mode, you will be able to have a action-based type weapon attack. Not active skill, but weapon attack.
Okay.
They deal damage.
It's got kind of like a Morrowind vibe to it. I guess that's the action-based combat. It's interesting that... So for all melee weapons have a cleave to them?
Obviously, as I've said in the past, action combat and tab are two very different tempos. And, you know, if we had to go through and rework kind of combat not to be hybrid, I would lean more in favor of tab targeting with high mobility and a lot of template type attacks to kind of represent that more skill-oriented combat. But I think that through testing in alpha and beta, but especially alphas, that we will be able to fine-tune this so that it sits comfortably between the two different types of speeds, essentially. Oh, we got some mushrooms. Kill these mushrooms.
It's a giant mushroom.
Another thing that's important about
right now.
Kind of these action combats is the ability to kind of dodge. Kind of moving out of the way of certain skill shots, and oh, that's a death cap. I don't think we want to do that one. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see players.
It's interesting.
There we go. It's going to be interesting to see essentially players kind of testing out this hybrid combat, seeing how it feels, getting an idea for essentially the balancing that's going to be required and hosting different types of CC effects across the different targeting methods. and iterating on this, and you guys are going to be a part of that every step of the way, giving great feedback as all of you do normally.
That's interesting. I thought they was gonna show us more. I thought they were gonna have like lots of them fighting each other, so we could see in general like what a big brawl would look like.
You know, one of the most important things is you guys are seeing that. You know, we obviously the team loves to see the excitement, the you know, the feedback about how great the game looks and all that kind of stuff. That's very important to us. But really, what the purpose is of, you know, going into these alpha phases is going to be is getting data, getting logs, getting.
Lovely says, all good. Can't wait for this game to come out. I hope Alpha 1 is soon. Yeah, Alpha 1 should be at the end of this year, at the end of 2020. I really hope I can get in it. I'm trying to like create content for them, and hopefully they'll let me in because of that. But yeah, I'm really excited for this game. It's crazy that it's going to be like another 2 years till it actually comes out. So I'm glad that Alpha 1 is coming here soon.
Combat needs to feel responsive. It needs to not feel floaty. It needs to feel mobile. It needs to be fluid. It needs to give a feeling of satisfaction.
That's like the one thing that I hope for the combat is fluidity.
Effects components, the animations themselves, the types of skills, and you know, those types of things. All of those are really kind of our objective in fine-tuning the approach for our combat in Ashes of Creation. And I just want to make sure that you guys are aware, you know, as we go through these alphas, it's going to be rapidly changing. There might be several prototypes we attempt to play with the live audience. You know, that's the best way, I think, that we as a development team can yield a successful system in combat.
Yeah, fluidity is very important. If the combat doesn't feel good, a lot of people won't like the game. Yeah, I agree. All the major streamers that talk about the game or have reviewed the game have all mentioned that the combat being fluid and good is their number one requirement. And I think that's actually the problem with New World right now, is that the combat was so clunky. And so it turned a lot of people off right away. I know it's just in the beta phase, but I love the idea of being able to like move and dodge things, and like that's really interesting to me.
It does. I don't know. But there were some questions regarding add-ons. Obviously, we've already talked about that. We're not going to allow add-ons.
I kind of like their take on add-ons. I like that they're not doing add-ons. Maybe it's because I'm coming from World of Warcraft, where to be any good at the game, you have to have add-ons. I like the idea that if you have to use add-ons for a system, that means that the system somehow is broken, right? Or it's not user-friendly. And that's their sort of perspective on it. So I really like that they're taking that approach, that if people are really like trying to have add-ons for the game or try to improve the UI, that means their current UI isn't good enough. I just want to play the game the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, and I like having a shared experience with everyone, right? Like the game will be the same for all of us. And so one person's not going to be benefited by some crazy add-on that's telling them like the most efficient way to mine or gather materials in a certain area. So, and I feel like those add-ons take out the fun and exploration of the game. And the like part of the fun of the game is like sitting down and like crunching the math yourself, like if you're trying to make gold, or like trying to like find the most efficient path. And if you have an add-on, then you just like download it and it just tells you like walk this exact line and you'll be the most efficient. So I don't know, I think that sort of ruins the immersion for me. Yeah, plus without add-ons there will be a lot of player-made guides, videos, tutorials to explain things instead of an add-on. Yeah, and I actually like that more in favor than an add-on, right? Like I like the idea of the community making content and trying to help each other out instead of a program that you just download and it takes away the interaction with you in the community. I agree with you.
That's a number of active skills.
Maybe I agree because I'm going to be one of the people making content.
Just watch out for the mushrooms. There's a few of them on the way.
Oh, are there some mushrooms?
Some of these mounts look really cool. I wish they made their video high quality. Yeah.
Cook them?
Me too.
Saute them?
That'd be awesome.
You know, we had stuffed mushrooms.
Let me see if it's my settings.
I saw that. That looked really good.
Yeah, I think it's my settings. Is this better?
I like how you're on
Will
that
players
This
stove.
looks a bit higher quality.
create-
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't even. What the heck are they doing? Yeah, I wasn't even
Your
thinking
legs
about
are so funny.
So up here you can
I'm just
see
gonna turn this down
one of
just
the
a little bit.
castles. Probably those of you guys who participated in the apocalypse testing recognize this.
Yeah, he's like
castle
riding
in
a
particular. This is
Zebra
a
anteater. That's pretty
constructed
cool.
Castle. This is a little bit smaller than actually the size of the castles and how they'll actually be.
He said
in
this
the
is
game at
1/4 the
launch.
size of how the
But
castles
this
will
kind of
actually
will
be. That's
more
pretty cool.
facilitating smaller battles, I think, in Alpha 1. But initially, as probably most of you are aware, before players do actually take castles, they will be owned by monsters. So this one is currently owned by monsters. And basically how it's going to work
Oh,
is
dude, this
guilds
looks so
will
fun.
be capable of signing up to attack these castles. And, you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about this in the past, but the guild that signs up to attack, you know, multiple guilds may do so. They're going to initially be fighting these monsters and killing a raid boss that'll be kind of in the center of the castle. And the what we're thinking right now is that in order to initially take the castle from the NPC control, rather than using the normal sealing mechanic that's cast on the center relic, instead the raid boss will be essentially killed by the number of players out there, and the highest contributing damage to the raid boss for the initial capture of the castle will be the determining factor for the guild. We're going to test this, obviously. You know, we have a couple of other ideas as well. The whole purpose of alpha and the betas is to test these ideas and see how they play out. Now, there's a lot of stuff outside of just killing, you know, the raid boss that's important to take a castle. There are objectives in the interior of the castle, specific waypoints that you want to capture, and this will aid kind of in progressing to the raid boss eventually. But let's dismount and see if we can head in. I know we're only 3, but whoops.
I believe in us.
Yeah, I think we might be able to.
We'll have to use some GM hackery probably.
Yeah, I think the 3 of us combined with the tiny might of Tiny Toast and the strong staff of Luperzo.
Oh, that was a cool animation.
Let's see.
The
I
blink.
mean, you can see your reflection in my armor.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I love that
Pretty
armor.
majestic.
I like the little plume on top, actually. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like waving in the wind, but like the physics is a little messed up on the waiting.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right, let's
That's
head
where
in
all
there.
your ideas
That's
come
really
from.
cool.
Yeah. So you can see there, kind of interior. Like I said, this is smaller than what would normally be the castle size, but the relic is kind of exposed there. The raid boss isn't present at the moment. These guys are, they are elite mobs. So normally you would have a party, a full party. We are cheating a little bit, by the way, or at least I'm cheating. You can see the other party members have a few hundred hit points, and I bumped myself up.
I'll give you some mana.
Oh, nice. Did you give me mana?
Mm-hmm.
Now I give you mana.
Oh, mana, the mana friendship.
Dude, this mob is rough. It's not doing very much damage to him, but
There's a lot of smoke, a lot of fire happening right now.
yeah, the details look
Yeah.
really good.
Get 2 mages in here.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Let me switch into action. Or
Like this is
actually,
really
I'm gonna train the room.
It's trying to kill us.
Oh,
this is actually
I have a
really
lot of hit
good,
points. You guys,
considering the game is still 2 years
Oh, no.
out of.
Oh god.
Someone's
Launch?
on my butt.
Oh, some little flowers in here. Wait for it. Okay.
Oh no, he reset.
These guys are all-
Where'd you go?
Those little.
I kind of ran into the center. I was
Dogs
seeing
are
whether or not
crazy.
the, what are some of the favorite sieges you guys have participated in the games you played?
I've really loved Warhammer Online's PvP and Dark Age of Camelot. Like, both of those were probably my favorite experiences.
For me, I think this may actually be the first time where I'm participating in large-scale Siege PvP personally, so I am super excited to jump in and test and try out all this stuff.
I mean, these are looking pretty cool.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. You've
Or
never
it might
done
have
large-scale
been-
sieges?
Back in, like, if we're thinking of Ragnarok Online, I think had some sieges.
It's cool that the castles are going to be able to be destroyed. Like, you could
I
just
didn't care so
get
much
your
for
party
the
and go to a wall and
PvP
just like
content, but
cut
the
a
PvP
little hole
content I
through the
really
wall.
liked, and I enjoyed it a lot.
That the walls and everything is going to be destructible.
I like the
That's really
arenas
cool.
that they have.
It makes me wonder if you do take over the castle, do you then have to invest resources to rebuild what you just destroyed?
And stuff like that. As a
Like,
tank,
it makes
I thought it was
sense,
really cool
and I'm pretty sure that's
how I could like
how it's
take
gonna
the
go.
damage.
You do? You have to rebuild the castle? Okay, yeah, I feel like that makes the most sense.
Region, one of the 5 main economic regions, they exert control over.
I feel like that also
They collect
changes the way you're going
taxes
to
and
attack
them
the
to
castle, right?
establish, essentially
Where it might not be in your best interest to completely destroy it. Maybe you'll want to scale the walls first.
System.
Never thought of that, actually.
So yeah, I hope you guys,
gonna take a lot of planning.
enjoyed this little,
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's going to be interesting because guilds are going to have to be organized, and you're going to have to like form little troops. Like, I'm really excited because I'm going to start a guild too. By the way, you guys should join my Discord. There should be a link in the description, but join the Discord so that when the game comes out, we can all play together. I think it'd be really fun to get a community together right now so that when it first launches, you already have like your friends you can run around the world with. Anyway, but yeah, you're gonna have to coordinate. Like, maybe you have like one team distracting on one side and they're gonna scale the wall while the other team is like pounding at the gates. And so if the other guild goes to defend the wall being scaled, then the other guys are gonna go through the gates. And I don't know, I think it'll be interesting to see what sort of tactics you can employ, and how some classes can like climb walls as a special ability. Like, I think it's rogues or something that can like climb and scale walls. So it makes me wonder, like, can you just get a troop of like 20 rogues to all like scale a wall secretly and then jump in and like just one-shot people? I don't know. That'd be really interesting too. Like, I'm really excited to see what the dynamic is. Assassin squad.
Those
Yeah,
caravans carry the castle taxes.
gotta form an
So
assassin
the
squad
incentive
for
to
attacking
essentially
castles, for
attack
sure.
Those
Steven really loves zooming all the way out with his camera. You can totally zoom in with your camera. You don't have to have it zoomed out that
That's
far.
true. I'm one of the zoom out MMO players. I know that there's a spectrum of people and where they live on that from a zoom standpoint. But
I'm like a right in the middle kind of person. I don't like my camera super zoomed out, and I don't like it right up close either. I'm like right in the middle. I think that's cool that every weekend there's gonna be an event that your
Like similar to
guild
that.
is encouraged to take part of, whether that's
We still have a
sieging
lot
a
to
castle
go
or
through,
the
and
little
we don't have
side castle regions. I can't remember exactly what they're called, or whether it's defending those and like growing these 3 little outposts of your castle too. And then every 4th week there's a big siege for the main castle. Yeah, this castle looks dope.
So first and foremost, we're going to talk a little bit about the junior city gate that you see here. And there's also a lot of little intricacies that we're going to show off in some other assets as well. And this first one is kind of like giving you the feel of what that gate is going to look like. This isn't even the whole city itself. But I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about that, and then I can show as well the lamps and some of the props as well, and how those integrate with nodes as they progress, like level 1 to all the way to level 6.
This is a concept piece showing
What
kind
the
of
heck?
the architectural designs for the junior stage 5 city. This piece in particular is really focused on the outer walls. One important thing to note about the way that nodes essentially get established.
Yeah, junior is
we're now
the dwarf race.
utilizing. It's semi-procedural. Obviously, there's parameters that we set, and those parameters dictate the placement of specific buildings that adhere to the designs for both sieges, as well as the roads that exist and the location of specific
That's
services
cool.
and or merchants.
Seeing the progression
But,
of the
what that ensures
torches.
is that every node will have a unique appearance. It will be distinct to itself. And even if it gets leveled up multiple times, there's an opportunity there where the node platform design gets changed for each progression, so to speak. And this is great from an immersion standpoint, obviously, because you're not going to see cookie cutter type nodes you're not going to see cookie cutter type city layouts and node designs. It's going to be fresh kind of each time. And they're not going to be like, oh, this is every node's a rectangle kind of thing. They're going to be natural, immersive, looking like normal cities and stuff.
I'm glad they put the little dwarfs in there so you can see like how big they actually are.
It's one of those things that the detail work really matters when you're trying to tell a story and trying to provide like a cohesive look to things, right? The details are really important, and so that's why we share these things. It's like we're not just thinking about the overall big gigantic walls, but like we get down to like the real detailed stuff and think about like, what does a denier brazier look like? What does a denier cup look like? What does a denier table look like? So we're thinking about all of these things, on a really micro level in order to tell this story and make the story make sense at a glance.
Hey, that's awesome. I think it's cool that the jawbones are
piece in game. So what was
like wrapped into the shield, like it's actual bone. Ike Halt Live says, hey, how can I play the game right now? Only by an invite? At the end of the years when they open up to Alpha 1, you could have purchased your way into Alpha 1 if you like joined the crowdfunding, like if you helped crowdfund it. The only way to get part of Alpha 1, which starts at the end of this year right now, is by invite. Yeah, so contacting the developers. And I think they're more likely to invite you if you're creating content for it. So if you do live streams or do videos on YouTube or something, then you could use that to your advantage as you communicate with them. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah. Like right here on the chest of the female, the band goes across like that, while the male, it goes straight down. So that's interesting. That'll be interesting for like transmog, like when you're dressing up your character, or if you're like role playing a certain way, like armor pieces are going to look different on male or female. So while you might really like the look of a armor piece on a female, when you put it on your male, it might not look the same. The faces look a little dead in this. I mean, that's okay.
Artists, so
it's kind of just like
having them all share,
a mannequin to put the armor on.
And then Yorkie wants to know, are there plans for level 50 to be a soft cap when you can still level beyond it, albeit it might err it at a slow rate, requiring lots of experience? So like, I guess if you can like have overload experience.
No.
There's not infinite progression in those systems. That would be a difficult thing to essentially balance. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like that either. I'm glad that there's a hard cap. Okay, that's cool.
Ventharian wants to know, when Stephen mentioned flight paths in his interview with Asmongold, was he referring to the scientific Metropolis's airship system or something else?
No, the Metropolis airship system is really a connector between other metropolises and or different regions, so to speak, that kind of helps to facilitate a faster travel point. The travel system I was talking about with Asmongold, that's more geared towards within a specific region. So you can move from node A to node C within region 1, right? And those regions
if people have built those.
Exactly, correct, yes.
Okay.
All right.
So there is going to be some form of traveling faster.
Not only will you be able to identify by their icon, but you'll be able to hover over the user's nameplate, and it will give information such as level. You'll be able to see the quick buff icon for their gear grade and type, and then hovering over the nameplate will give you their class name as well, and it will show you next to that the combination in case you don't know the class name.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, the goal is to kind of communicate the archetype real fast, right? So you can kind of get a sense of, at a glance, what you are, and then more detail will give you the specific subclass. And then if you really want to dig in, you can go and get all that other information too.
Awesome. Zimzam wants to know,
so you can inspect players.
And our next question is from Sent, which is a funny name. They sent us a question. Can I keep a house cat in my freehold? But I guess we haven't really talked about like pets in your house, in your like freehold. I know we've talked about animal husbandry and like stables and things of that sort.
It's definitely not something that's outside of the realm of possibility. It's an easy thing we could potentially implement. I'm not sure if that's necessarily. I know I remember talked about having children on a household that would just sit there and do chores.
No, Stephen. What?
And then if the household gets burned down, they get sent to an orphanage, and you can reclaim your child. But no. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's totally possible to have pets on the freehold. That's just something we have to scope out. But it shouldn't be too difficult to set up an NPC that paths on the freehold if there's a slot available.
So we'll be seeing you soon with a lot more folks on our team, and we're going to continue to pump out some amazing content. We'll see you next month for another dev update, and thank you so much again for all of your support.
Bye, guys.
Okay. I think there's lots of cool things that we got from that. It's interesting seeing the combat system. Just from the looks of it, I like the action side a bit more than the tab targeting. I'm not very good at first person shooters and stuff. So I think if I was playing a ranged class, then the action side might be a little bit harder for me. But when it comes to melee, I like the action side a bit more. What are my first impressions? I'm still really excited for the game. One of the big things that I took away from this is they are really wanting this game to be awesome. And I think they're thinking about and covering a lot of major points that other games aren't thinking about and covering. For example, New World recently came out with its beta and lots of people played it. And I think there's lots of systems in New World that people don't really like. Or when you hit max level, it kind of just ends. And the giant wars and the sieges and stuff aren't as fun as what people were thinking. And so I think Ashes of Creation, on the other hand, like I said, we're still 2 years out of when it actually releases, but I think they're covering a lot of these bases right off the bat. So hopefully when the game launches, they'll all be smoothed out and taken care of. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking around, watching this Ashes of Creations update with me. Feel free to follow me on YouTube or Twitch or whatever platform that you like, Facebook, so that when I release a new video or when we stream, that you guys can be here for that too.